Hey, welcome back to the shop, friends. One thing that is driving me crazy is I can never find my drill bits. So I've dug through the basement, I've dug through the shop, and I've dug through my truck, and this is what I've come up with. This is all the drill bits I currently own. I've got tile bits, I've got wood bits, I've got metal bits, spade bits, timber framing bits. I've got all sorts of bits, and the thing is I can never find the ones I want. So in this video, we're going to build a French cleat storage solution to hold all the drill bits. So what I've come up with is some small tool holders, or bit holders, that will be mounted to a sheet of plywood, and then they will have a French cleat connection for the wall. Each holder will be labeled with the dimension of the bit. So I've gone ahead and gotten started without you, and here's what I've got. The first thing I did was I measured the position that I want them out on the wall, and I wanted to make sure it was going to fit nice and snug, yet I'd be able to assess the bits easily. So the first thing I did was I cut down some plywood, and it measures 16 inches by 3 foot. And that'll give me plenty of room to have multiple holders for each different types of bit that I have. The second thing I did was I cut down some scrap 2x4s that I have, and each of those are cut down to 16 inches in length. The final thing that I did was I cut down some scrap pieces of plywood, and those will serve as the cleats to connect the holder to the wall. And the top cleat has the 45-degree angle that will mate with the cleats on the wall. On the bottom of the holder is just a flat piece of plywood, and it doesn't really matter the width of it. All that really matters is that it's the correct length so it doesn't hang over the sides of the mount. And this just gives some, this actually is just a spacer to keep the holder the same distance off of the wall that the cleat holds it. So I made this little template to size up the tool holders. I just kind of took the 2x4, cut it down to the size I thought would be nice, and here it is. So basically what I've got is I've got the shape of the holders that I like, and then I've cut a 45-degree angle off of that with the table saw. And that allows the bits to stick out a little bit so it's easier to grab them. And that'll also let me stack them a little bit closer on the wood. So I'm going to use this to set up my table saw for the cuts. Just in case you're interested, this little holder measures 2.5 inches in width. And the length will be the 16 inches, the width of the piece of plywood. And that could be, you can make that any width you like. That's just the width that's going to fit the best on the wall. So I don't really like the beveled edges on the 2x4, so the first thing I'm going to do is just rip down that bevel off so it gives it some nice straight edges. Now I've got a nice straight edge on one side, or nice flat edge. So I got my table saw set to the 2.5 inches width. I'm gonna go ahead and rip it down to the correct width. My kids like to scribble on my scrap pieces of lumber, so I'm going to run them through the thickness planer to take some of that off so I can actually write on them in order to know what size the bits are. So now we need to cut the bevel on the tool holder that will allow the drill bits to stick out at an angle. So this is really easy to do, having a little template. I just set my table saw to fit the template. So the tool holders are going to be mounted to the plywood like this, and I'm going to space them out evenly where I can access the bits from each little holder. But now I have some bits that are pretty long, like this 1-inch spade bit, and I think this bit is about 18 inches long. I'm going to put those at the top, that way they're not sticking out really far and catching on things. But I'm going to make the tool holder for the long bits a little bit differently, so let me show you that. So I'm going to rip this 2x4 into 1-inch strips. It's going to be the same thickness as the tool holders there, but the strip, there'll be 2 different strips, and I'll show you how that works. So these 16-inch long by 1¼ inch strips of 2x4 will be mounted to the top of the plywood holder. And the way it's going to work is the top piece will have holes drilled in it to fit the longer bits. So they'll go through the top and then they'll rest on the second one here. There'll be no holes drilled in this one. And they'll be spaced out about like that, and that'll hold the bits erect upward. They won't be sticking out at an angle like the other bits. These are too long and they'll be catching on things in the shop if they're angled out. So they'll be sitting something like that. So let's do a real quick recap as to where we are so far. We have the plywood base, and then we have the tool holders that'll be mounted to the plywood, evenly spaced all the way up the board. And then at the top we have these 2 1¼ inch pieces of 2x4 that'll be mounted to the board, evenly spaced as well, and then there'll be holes drilled in the top that will hold the longer bits, and then they'll rest on this second piece. So this next step is certainly optional, but I think it'll make it look a lot better. I'm going to build a small frame to go around the tool holder. So I'm going to go ahead and rip down our frame to 3 inches in width. So I think we're over halfway done with this project. I think we're out of time for today. Can't let the videos run too long. But I think one more video and we'll have this project complete, and we'll have a really nice storage solution for all the drill bits. An easy project that you can build at home with just minimal tools and also scrap lumber. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.